A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark, chapter 2, verses 13 to 17. Passage taken from the Message version of the Bible. Then Jesus went again to walk alongside the lake. Again, a crowd came to him, and he taught them, strolling along. He saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, at the work collecting tax. Jesus said, "Come along with me." He came. Later, Jesus and his disciples were at home having supper with a collection of disreputable guests. Unlikely as it seems, more than a few of them had become followers. The religious scholars and Pharisees saw him keeping this kind of company and lit into his disciples. What kind of example is this? Acting cozy with the riffraff. Jesus, overhearing, shocked back. Who needs a doctor? The healthy or the sick? I am here inviting the sin sick, not the spiritually fit. The Gospel of the Lord.
Reflections on the Gospel according to St. Mark chapter 2 verses 13 to 17. The vocation of Levi, which we read in the Gospel today, speaks to us about an unlikely vocation. Levi is a tax collector, although considered anti-national and a public sinner by the patriotic Jews, but he is economically well off and wields power in the government. Being in the job, he could claim a lot of privileges and benefits, but all of a sudden and forever, he leaves his job simply because a stranger fixed his gaze on him and called him, "Follow me." Levi must have been for sure listening to this preacher and might have witnessed the signs he performed. But of course, the Gospel does not speak anything about these assumptions. Possibly his vocation story is presented like this to highlight that with Jesus there is no room for doubts. Either he is obeyed or he is rejected. Levi acts as the slogan on the coat of arms of Pope Francis reads, "Miserando atque eligendo," which means by showing mercy and by choosing. Jesus mercifully chooses a tax collector to be his apostle, and Levi does not think twice to respond. Pope Francis chose this sentence about the call of Mathew as his motto on his coat of arms to remind him of God's merciful choosing of a sinner. Levi in turn invited his friends from the same profession to celebrate his vocation. He understands that being called by Jesus is like falling in love, finding a treasure. The gospel is an invitation to follow him. Of course, we have decided to follow Christ long ago, and that's why we have received the sacraments and go to church and read the scripture. Well, Levi the tax collector tells something more to us today. Responding to Jesus, be it an immediate decision or a well-meditated discernment, requires total commitment. Following Jesus cannot be a part-time activity or a half-hearted decision. The religious leaders raise a concern over Jesus' proximity to the public sinners and accepting them in his company. How often do we label people as not suitable for our acquaintance and keep them away from our communities and circles? Jesus brings in a pastoral approach. He never despised the sinner. God in His mercy chose me, a sinner, to follow Him. The closeness of Jesus is always therapeutic. He brings healing. He laid down His life for us sinners and invites us to go to Him as we are. Let sin not stop us. Let worldly attractions not lure us away from God's loving invitation to go to Him.